catholic.edu/admission.
Good evening and welcome to the Catholic Connection. I am so excited that you decided to join us this evening. My name is Carrie and I am an admission rep in the Office of Admissions here at Hope. So when I'm meeting with families and I notice that the student went to a Catholic high school, or they have checked that they attend a Catholic parish, or in our conversation, all of a sudden it says, I know you're a Protestant church, but where is the Catholic parish? Where is it close by? I get really excited. I get excited because we have such a vibrant campus culture here in the Catholic faith. You know, 20% of our student body is Catholic. So tonight you're going to learn more about that. You're going to hear from a few different people. First, Associate Professor Jared Ortiz in the religion department, and he is actually the executive director and founder of the St. Benedict Institute. He will then bring on Father Nick. Father Nick is fun, intelligent, and just a wonderful spiritual guide for our community. And then you're going to hear from students, what they experience at Hope. Corinne and Jacob will join us, and the whole time I'm going to watch for your questions. So please ask them and we'll address them all this evening. So at this time, I would like to welcome Dr. Ortiz.
Thank you, Carrie, for that introduction, and welcome parents and students. So a little bit about me and the St. Benedict Institute. So I was hired in 2012 to teach Catholic theology, and one of the motivating factors behind that is just what Carrie said, which is that 20% of our students are Catholic. Now, when I got here and I started teaching classes, what I realized, which is true around most colleges, is that we have a lot of students who are really strong and beautiful and in their Catholic faith. And then we have a lot of students who aren't practicing their faith so much. And so what we wanted to do was to create some kind of space where our Catholic students could really be Catholic. So a number of Catholic professors and I and the local parish got together and said, what could we do? So we talked about getting some programming together and some ministry together and some retreats together. And eventually this coalesced around the idea of a center, which eventually became the St. Benedict Institute. The St. Benedict Institute has basically two wings. It has the ministry wing, which Father Nick will tell you about later, but it also has the intellectual wing, faith and reason, spirituality, and academic and intellectual excellence. And those two things go together because we want to address the whole person. We have a mind and we have a heart and we have a body, and at St. Benedict Institute, we care about the whole person and forming the whole person. Now, we picked Benedict as our patron saint because of what he did at the beginning of the Dark Ages. So Benedict lived in the 500s as the Roman Empire was collapsing, and he founded all these monasteries, which were these places of learning, these places of holiness, these places of work and prayer and this kind of beautiful rhythm of life. And he founded these all throughout Europe, and his monks continue to be the great missionaries. And what would happen is these monasteries would be these great beacons of light in the so-called Dark Ages. And what would happen is that people would gather around them. People would be drawn to them, and some of them would become monks, but others would just settle near them. They just wanted to be near these monks. And so they found their farms there, and then towns would grow up, and then cities. And what you'd have all throughout Europe is these cities with monasteries as the nucleus. And that's what we wanted. And that kind of dynamic is what I call spiritual gravity. And that's what we wanted the St. Benedict Institute to be, is this place of spiritual gravity, this place of holiness and beauty and learning and really robust Catholicism that would just draw students in. So just some of the ways that we try to do that, to have a public presence. So certainly with our intellectual events, we do big public events. We have lectures from big speakers and little speakers, academics and popular speakers. We have conferences, and we have panel discussions, and all of those are open to the public. Those are open to parents. And actually, parents, you get on our mailing list. This is actually a really good excuse to visit your student, is when we're having some cool event that you can come and take them out to dinner and then come join us for the event. We also have student-only events where we'll do really intimate seminars. We'll feed students dinner outside the dining hall, and then we'll do some kind of intensive experience. So The past few years, we've done a really popular one on courtship and sex and marriage, not in that order, courtship, marriage, and sex. And those have been really popular. We've done ones on heaven, hell, and purgatory. So just really topics that students are really interested in. Oh, Father Nick did one on Harry Potter and spiritual warfare. So just the things that we can really sort of draw students in, nourish their bodies with food, nourish their souls with good conversation and fellowship, and then nourish their minds with some intellectual engagement. We also, again, have the other wing. So again, that's the intellectual wing. And of course, we have the campus ministry wing. And again, Father Nick's going to tell you a lot more about all the things that we do on campus. And because Father Nick is full-time here. But the other person we have here is Carly McShane, who is our full-time campus missionary. So she was a student here at Hope. She was a religion major. She actually is a convert to Catholicism in her time here at Hope College. And then after she graduated, she came back and became a missionary. And now she has a full-time ministry to students. And so she works a lot with the women, running women's groups and Bible studies and other things, and a lot of one-on-one. So that's just the St. Benedict Institute in a nutshell. As for me and the other offerings on campus, so again, I teach in the religion department. We actually have a lot of Catholic faculty. About 15% of the faculty at Hope are Catholic. And so there's a lot of really wonderful Catholic professors that you can meet on campus. But as far as what I do in the religion department is I teach a lot of the introduction classes. All students have to take a religion 100 and 200 class. It's just part of their requirements. And they can take that from any professor. But I offer courses on a course called The Mystery of the Incarnation, where we, again, learn about, who Jesus Christ is, both as true God and true man. I offer a church history class. I do offer a class called Catholic Christianity, which is also popular. I'm teaching a class now, which Corinne is in, called Theology of the Human Person, which again, just thinks about what does it mean to be human? What does the Bible teach us about that? We study theology of the body in there. We also think a lot about disability in that class, which is, again, a personal passion of mine. And so I offer a wide variety of classes. My field of study is originally early Christianity, so I do a lot of classes in early Christianity as well, especially on Augustine. And Jacob is in, actually both Jacob and Corinne, who you'll meet later, are in that my class on Augustine. But like I said, there's Catholic professors all throughout the college who are very, very involved in students' lives, and who a lot of our students, again, both Catholic and non-Catholic, will take classes from. So that is what I do in a nutshell. And I would like to now hand it over to Father Nick, our campus chaplain.
Thanks, Dr. Ortiz. And to everyone who's watching, just a quick plug for Dr. Ortiz. I talk to a lot of students, and I get these sort of unfiltered reports of his teaching, and they are incredibly all very good. I actually have not met a single person who has not liked his classes, and many who have been profoundly changed by them. So yeah, that's something to look forward to when you come to Hope College. As you said, I'm sort of in charge of the ministry wing of the St. Benedict Institute. And just a little bit of background here. So I've been doing this for, this is my 4th year now at Hope College. It's kind of hard to believe. Also, I feel like I've been here forever. It feels like home in a lot of ways. But I've been a priest for 8 years. So my first 4 years of ministry were teaching high school in Chicago at my alma mater, Fenwick High School, and which was run by the Dominican Order. That's why I'm wearing this sort of black hood and outfit thing. I'm not a diocesan priest, but a Dominican one. And after going to Fenwick High School in Chicago, I studied economics and philosophy at Claremont McKenna College in California. My plan was to become fabulously wealthy. That did not work out, as you can see. But I'm rich in other things, so thanks be to God. And actually being here has been, at Hope College and at St. Benedict's has been a great experience. There's Dr. Ortiz, there are other professors, Dr. Jack Mulder and others, part of the Institute, and Carly McShane. And one of the nice things is I think we all just not only get along together, but I think have very much a shared vision for the Institute. So there's everyone sort of sailing in the same direction. It's just been a really nice experience to be here and to be part of that. In terms of what we actually do and I actually do on campus, first thing to mention, as you might suspect, I offer sacramental ministry. It's kind of the basics here, confessions very regularly, and offer Mass every day. We also currently have 6 hours of adoration a week that's available on Tuesdays, and we have Hope has been kind enough to give us a dedicated space for a chapel. It was a prayer room that they had, and they said we could keep a tabernacle there. And so it's basically for our exclusive use, but lots of students love to go and pray there. It's a nice, intimate little space, which we're, please God, hoping to remodel very soon. So in addition to the sacramental life, we have some, a lot of different programming that we do. I think I can boil it down into 3 sort of large sets of things that we do. One of the big things that I do and Carly McShane does is spiritual direction, sort of one-on-one mentoring with students. And we've had the system going for almost 2 years now, where we offer students who are interested and dedicated a chance to commit to meeting for 20 minutes every other week. It's kind of a spiritual check-in, and how are things going? How's life? Sort of everything that's going on can come into that. And it's been a really good way to keep tabs on a lot of people. I think between the 2 of us, we have over 50 students who are doing that. It's not a huge time commitment for the students or for each of us in terms of one student, but we do spend overall a lot of time in it because it's really worth doing and really sort of help people go step by step in growing in their relationship with Jesus. So it's one of the things I really enjoy doing. I think Carly enjoys it as well, and I think it's been pretty fruitful. The students are going to be on later can talk about that a bit more from the other end of what that looks like. But that's one of the big things, the one-on-one meetings. And even beyond those sort of regular biweekly meetings, Carly and we meet just with a lot of people, taking people out for coffee, getting to know people, handling crisis appointments and all that sort of thing. That all comes with the territory. So one segment of what we do is individual one-on-one meetings. A second thing that we do is trips. And so we've organized a number of trips that before COVID and crashed and burned everything. We were doing 3 a year. So one of those trips was to a conference at Notre Dame, hosted by the organization Evangelical Catholic, focused on evangelizing. How do you share your faith with others? And this would be for dedicated, invested students who wanted to learn more about how do I introduce people to Jesus. So that was one trip that we took. A second trip, which we did over spring break, was to St. Meinrad's Monastery, which is in southern Indiana. It's a very different sort of spring break than most people are used to, but a very contemplative one. And the idea is to kind of be immersed in a contemplative atmosphere. Dr. Ortiz talked about the Benedictines having these monasteries, and people would go to them, and sometimes they'd live around them, but sometimes they just visit, and just go there to be in that atmosphere of prayer and of quiet work for a time. So that's another sort of very different kind of trip that we've hosted for students, and I think that they've really enjoyed it. And the monks have a beautiful prayer life there. It's really excellent, and the grounds are gorgeous. And so to go there, do some manual labor, to get conferences like on a retreat, to join the monks for prayer, starting at like 5:30 in the morning or something like that. It's just been really good. The third trip is to what's called the Encounter Conference. In terms of look and feel, it's kind of the exact opposite of the monastery. So it's a charismatic Catholic event, very big, couple thousand people. A lot of Christian worship music. It's kind of sort of sets the tone, and just a very excitement-filled atmosphere, really energetic. So something entirely different, but also something that has been very enriching for students and actually enriching for me personally. So those are kind of the trips that we've been offering students that kind of touch on very sort of different points. The third thing we do is small group activities. Now, sometimes, it could be men's and women's groups. Sometimes it's encouraging students to host Bible studies and providing resources for that. But the biggest, and I think the small group sort of program with the most impact has definitely been Exodus 90, which is this sort of 90-day super Lent, you might think of it. It has 3 pillars: prayer. So students commit to praying for 20 minutes a day, every day, for 90 days. Secondly, they commit to being part of a small group, which meets weekly, and they have an accountability partner that they keep in touch with daily, on a daily basis. And third is the sacrifices, and it's a lot of sacrifice in terms of food, types of fasting, no snacking, that sort of thing. Electronic fasting from social media and binging on Netflix by yourself in your room and all that sort of stuff. And other kind of penances. So getting regular exercise, getting regular sleep, cold showers. That's a fun one. But it's been sort of incredible since I just sort of offered it to students 4 years ago, how the response has been. We've had as few as 39 students and as many as 130. And even though a lot of activities have gone down in numbers this year Exodus 90 has as many people as last year. And every year we kind of tweak the program and make it better and better. And so I'm really excited about this year. The other thing that we've done is to kind of extend that through the year, offering a program or a chance for these, students who form these connections with each other, these friendships, to continue walking with each other throughout the rest of the next year. We call that Exodus 365. It's not as bad as it sounds, or as intense. But that's been bearing a lot of fruit as well. So that's kind of the offerings that we have available. And again, we're also, we grow programming, we take suggestions. The reason we go to Encounter Conference was because a student suggested. It's like, all right, we'll try it, see what happens. And it was really good. So that, between all of those things, that kind of sort of fills up my days and my weeks here at Hope. And again, the ministry's been a blessing for me. And I think it's been a blessing to students as well. So I'd like to invite Carrie back, and she's going to introduce some of our wonderful students to you, and then we'll tackle questions after that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Father Nick. I also have to give a quick plug for Dr. Ortiz because I have 3 students, 2 graduated from Hope and 1 is here now. They all took a Professor Ortiz class, and they will tell you, favorite professor. My son took one and said to my daughter, oh my gosh, you have to take Professor Ortiz's class. The 2 together said to the young one, oh my gosh, you have to take Professor Ortiz's class. So if you decide to come to Hope, you have to take Professor Ortiz's class. I want to introduce you to 2 students. So Jacob and Corinne, if you want to come on now. This is Corinne and Jacob, and we're just going to start with, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're majoring in, what year you are, kind of why you chose Hope. And Corinne, let's start with you.
Okay. Yeah, hi, I'm Corinne. I am from Grand Rapids, Michigan, so not too far from Hope College. I am currently a junior here, and I am studying religion and classical studies. I chose Hope because I've had a couple cousins over the past few years graduate from Hope, and they talked very highly of it at many family occasions and encouraged me to visit. And when I visited, I just fell in love with the community here and campus life and everything that Hope had to offer to students. So.
Wonderful. Jacob?
Yeah, I'm from Rockford, Michigan, right by Grand Rapids, so also not super far away. I'm studying religion, majoring in religion on the Christian history and theology track, and minoring in math/statistics and physics I chose Hope largely because of, well, my oldest sister went here, and so I just had a positive connotation with Hope. And then also just the undergraduate research opportunities were really appealing to me. And then just, I wanted to go to a small school, in a school where I would have relationships with my professors and be able to talk to them and ask them questions and all those things. So.
We've heard from Professor Ortiz and Father Nick about everything that's offered, and I do want to get to what you two do at Hope, what really moves your faith. But I am going to make sure we get to all the questions. And one that popped up right in the beginning is, how do you invite new students to campus that are Catholic into the activities that you offer? So could you kind of speak to, like, when you came as a freshman, how did you learn about Hope Catholics and St. Benedict Institute? How was that path? Jacob, why don't you start?
Right, yeah. So both Corinne and I are on the Hope Catholics Student Club leadership team. She's the president, so, I just kind of do what she tells me. But yeah, so honestly, the way I got pulled in was just, some awesome people who became awesome friends who just kind of pulled me in. Like you see people after Mass or at different events, like, oh, St. Benedict's putting on this event, like, I'll go, sure, and then you see running people afterwards, and they kind of, pulled me in, and then, you pull other people in that you meet. Yeah, so kind of just the personal relationships has been a big thing. And then through Hope Catholics, we also really try to promote, create a wide email list and send, try to keep people very informed on stuff we're doing, or, Mass events, and especially this year with COVID, when, plans for Mass were changing all the time. It's like, hey, Mass is outdoors, like, in the fall, or, Mass is now, on campus in this classroom. Here's the sign up and all these things. Yeah, just a lot of the work we do through the club is trying to keep people informed. But honestly, the biggest thing in my experience has been the personal relationships and just kind of pulling people in and inviting them.
Mm-hmm. And Corinne, do you have a table then at, like, when we go back to the activity fair right away, when the freshmen are coming during orientation, will Hope Catholics have a table that they can come up and sign up that way?
Yes, yeah, we will have a table at the activity fair. And we had that this past year as well, even with COVID, which was great for students to get involved with. That's how I got involved with the Hope Catholics Club on campus originally, so.
That's great. Yeah, when you come as a freshman, there's a time on a Monday, usually in the afternoon, where every club and organization puts out tables in the Pine Grove, and then they move it, of course, if it rains. And they did it staggering this year. Now, Corinne, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a point where maybe Father Nick went and blessed the rooms if that was something the students wanted, their dorm rooms? Were you here when they did that? Ooh, okay, I'll ask him when we bring him back, because I think he's done that before. It was a highlight, so couldn't do it with COVID. But yeah, I think he might have done that before. So, okay, now, Corinne, what's your favorite part of Hope Catholics on campus?
Okay, that's a tough question. There's a lot of things that I love about the community. I feel like my favorite part, though, is the relationships that are created within the community. I would consider it more like a family with all of us when we come together for various events or activities. Just the relationships that are formed and how we look out for one another. Especially this past year, many of the juniors and seniors here have been looking out for the freshmen and sophomores and making sure that they get plugged in with the community right away, and that there are a group of people on campus that are supporting and praying for them. So that's been my favorite part, because I had upperclassmen pour into me as a freshman, and now I have the opportunity to give that back, which has been really great.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful to hear. I think so many people who choose Hope are looking for that type of community, and to have it in their faith is just wonderful. Jacob, what about you? What's your favorite thing that you do associated with Hope Catholics?
Yeah, really, I would echo a lot of what Corinne said. In particular, there's, and I might get a chance to talk more about this later, but I've inherited kind of helping to lead a group called Ignis, which is Latin for fire. Which is just a Catholic prayer and fellowship group. And we also had some awesome Protestant brothers and sisters join us in that group as well. And like Corinne was saying, that group in particular has become much like a family, is one part of the Catholic community that's become a lot like a family, just very close. And yeah, those relationships are, just the biggest thing for me here. Hope kind of, and the Catholic community, Hope kind of was the first time I realized that the journey of faith wasn't something you were supposed to do alone. It was kind of, because that's kind of what I was doing in high school. My family was very supportive, but I didn't really have, friends who were super on fire for Jesus or, wanted, to learn about their faith and that sort of thing. And then I found that at Hope. And yeah, I didn't realize how much I wanted it and needed it until I had it. So
this would be a good time. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the Ignatius, because is that like a Bible study with it?
right.
Or?
Yeah, so Ignis is kind of just an unofficial sort of group of, brothers and sisters, group of friends. It was started by Jacob Mazer Battistoni, who graduated last year and is currently in his novitiate with the Dominicans out in Denver. So very excited for him. Yeah, so, he started this my sophomore year, I think.
Okay.
And it was kind of just, prayer group, like, hey, let's meet and, invite the Holy Spirit to kind of, just move in power among us and, pray for each other for different things. And that was part of, that was actually part of the reason we went to the Encounter Conference that Father Nick mentioned for the first time, because Jacob went and had an incredible experience and he wanted to bring other people with him. And just so it's, been a group of really being open to the power of the Holy Spirit, and knowing that we can be vessels for that for each other, and, that there's power when we pray for each other. And then also just, great community, lots of laughs as always, as Corinne can attest to. But yeah, so it really has become a family-like community.
And how do students get involved in that?
Come, show up. Yeah, we meet Monday nights at 8:30. Has been the tradition of the last few years. This year, just being a little more careful, spreading out in masks and stuff. But we've been meeting just outside the Schoon Chapel, which Father Nick also mentioned.
Right.
Yeah.
So if a student signs up for Hope Catholics, they start getting a lot of information on the different.
Yeah. So, yes.
Great.
That's helpful clarification. Yeah, especially at the beginning of the semester, we'll send out. Ignis will be a part of. Hey, groups you can be involved in. So
that's great. So we have a question, what are the Bible studies like at Hope? Can you talk a little bit about what it feels? I mean, I know you said a lot of laughs and everything, but a little deeper on what different Bible studies Hope Catholics offer. Either one.
So with Ignis that Jacob talked about, it sometimes can be incorporated as a Bible study right now. Like we're going to go through Acts. We just talked about actually yesterday. So, but also with Exodus 90, a program that Father Nick talked about, scripture is incorporated throughout that journey over the course of 90 days as well. We don't have a Catholic Bible study this year. We had that last year with a former student who graduated, but I've been talking with a couple students lately, and we're thinking of bringing that back in the fall as another opportunity for freshmen to get involved with as well. So,
and Corinne, I think I'm correct in this, but don't you, through Carly, who Dr. Ortiz mentioned, does she do some small groups for women too?
Yes, yeah. So there is a women's small group that meets as well. So.
Mm-hmm. And Jacob, does Father Nick do something for men or?
Yeah. There's been a men's small group that just kind of fellowship group that meets.
Yeah. Wonderful. We are getting a lot of questions, so please keep them coming. I'm going to start asking those, and if it's okay, I'd like Father Nick and Dr. Ortiz to join us so that some of the questions are specifically for them. So thank you. One of the very first questions that came up, Dr. Ortiz, as you were talking, is Olivia wants to know, can the students come up with or request topics for those intensives?
Intensives, is that for?
I think what you do with St. Benedict Institute, some of the.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, we're always open to ideas. So yeah, we try different things every year, and sometimes it's whatever the pressing topic of the day is, whatever the controversial topic of the day is, we try to meet it head on, try to actually get ahead of the curve. Sometimes it's just fun stuff we think the students will be interested in, something on the Chronicles of Narnia, or something on Lewis, or something on sexuality, you know, so whatever the sort of whatever we think will be of interest to students. A couple of years ago, we brought an exorcist to campus. That was a very popular event.
Oh my goodness, I remember we had to add chairs. How many people ended up coming?
We do add chairs a lot at a lot of these events. Yeah, so the exorcist said, you know, when you do an event on Jesus, 20 people show up. When you do an event on the devil, 200 people show up. Yeah, we had more than 200 people there. So yeah, so certainly if people have ideas, students have ideas, you know, let us know, you know, if there's speakers that you want. And so again, we just try to coordinate this as best we can with, our own sort of formation plans and with speaker availability.
Right. Father Nick, you talked about some of the spring break thing, but there was a question, is through St. Benedict Institute or Hope Catholics, are there any service-oriented spring breaks through either of those?
So we don't organize those ourselves because campus ministries here at Hope College has a huge and extensive and very sort of well-oiled machine in terms of service trips for spring break. And they do a great job with that. They do a lot of spiritual formation along with that and helping the teams to sort of be formed together and form their leaders. And we've had Catholics go on those and lead those and have really positive experiences. So we decided not to reinvent the wheel. And so the trip we put together is something they're not doing. So if you want to do that, that's great. You have our blessing. If you want to go to a monastery, great. Join us.
Yeah.
You know.
And you can learn more about those mission trips if you go to just our campus ministries website. There's a section that lists all of those. Of course, this year, they don't have any that they're offering because we smushed the semester together and we don't have a spring break, but they do on the website show the past ones. And there were many options for that. So Father Nick, this is to you too. There was a question about pilgrimages or mission trips to other countries. Have we thought about doing that? Maybe in the summer when you're vacationing?
There was talk, I think my first year of doing a trip to Argentina for spring break, because there was a connection, or was it Peru? One of those two, I can't remember. But anyway, what we actually settled on was going to the monastery. So that's the one that sort of we do. I mean, you know, I guess if in the summer people like wanted to do a foreign pilgrimage or something like that, you could do that. We've even talked about with some local parishioners here. I think they've actually done it, a walking pilgrimage just from Holland, Michigan to the cathedral in Grand Rapids. They've done that. So
another, just to chime in on that one, you know, as Father Nick said, you know, we sort of tried to concentrate our energies to do what we can do really well. But what we have is we have sort of, in a sense, partner organizations where we try to pipeline our students. So actually, so like Corinne and another one of our Catholic students are going to Poland this year with the JP2 project. So that's going to be hopefully one of our pipelines for getting kind of immersion in a really Catholic country and Catholic culture. We work with the Augustine Institute. They have a summer City of God seminar. Jacob, you didn't do this. Anyway, we've had 6 or 7 students do that over the years. We also work with the Franciscan Sisters of the Eucharist in Chicago, a really wonderful Orthodox dynamic group of sisters who are in the inner city west side. And so we send students there in the summers a lot, and they can go for a week or for 3 months and work with the sisters in their food pantry and their summer programs and stuff like that. So what we try to do is to have these kind of pipelines. So again, we're not reinventing the wheel all the time, but we have a lot of friends, you know, that we can, you know, send our students to for really authentically Catholic formation and really authentically Catholic experiences.
So you use the word authentically Catholic, and we have a question, and I'm actually going to direct it first to the students because I think it may speak more to them. And then I'd like you, Dr. Ortiz, to kind of follow up. And to the audience, if you don't mind, I'm going to read it so I say it correctly. Is there anything about these Catholic opportunities that you don't like or you see as not being authentically Catholic? I know. It's a pause, isn't it? But I think if there's something that you've done that you're like, that doesn't really feel like what I was raised or anything, or maybe you feel, I don't want to put words into your mouth, that a little bit what Jacob said, that your faith is really growing here and it does feel authentically Catholic? Thoughts? That was a stumper. Dr. Ortiz, do you want to comment?
Sure. We have friends at a Catholic school in the region, shall remain nameless, who says that
I know.
Hope College is the best Catholic school in the region. Anyway, all that will remain nameless. So actually the best Catholic school in Michigan, I think, is actually how we put it. And in part, I think that's a testimony to what we really try to do here. You know, a lot of Catholic colleges, their identities are very compromised, you know, after the experiments of the 70s and 80s, and have not recovered their Catholic identity. And so actually, in some ways, here at Hope College, which is, you know, a traditionally Protestant college, we as Catholics actually have a lot more freedom to be Catholic. And so we've really, really tried to live into that. And we've been invited to do that, which is really, really wonderful. And so, you know, from our founding, you know, we've said, you know, we are Orthodox. What we believe is what's in the catechism, right? So there's no surprises. And even on all the controversial issues, what we believe is in the catechism. So what you're going to get here is an authentically Catholic experience. Because, you know, again, I've been in a lot of Catholic schools with a very compromised identity, and watered down Catholicism doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve Catholics, and it doesn't serve non-Catholics. It just creates confusion and dissent, and eventually people fall away from the faith. And our whole mission here is to draw people to Christ and to draw them to Christ's church, which, you know, we believe is the Catholic Church. So yeah, we try to speak with an authentically Catholic voice, you know, on all issues. And if you go to our webpage, you can scroll down and you can see we've addressed a lot of controversial issues. And we've done it from a really robustly Catholic voice. And again, we try to be very clear. We also try to be very winsome, right? We're not coming out, you know, guns blazing, but we're coming out, again, very forcefully and very clearly and saying, look, this is the truth, and the truth sets us free. And the truth is sometimes the truth is unpopular, but we're going to speak that truth. And one of the things we've been able to do here is to speak that actually more freely than some of our Protestant brothers here, who again are you know, have to deal with their own politics, but we're allowed to sort of speak with our own voice. And so we've made that we've spoken with a very Catholic voice.
And I want to add to that, even as a parent, my children have had great conversations with the younger one with Father Nick, the other two older ones with Professor Ortiz, because Father Nick wasn't here. And they were given the time and the dignity to ask questions. So they didn't come with, you have to know this if you're Catholic and you have to know that. They've grappled in conversations with really tough issues. And I've seen all three of them really grow in their faith because they were given the time and the space to ask the questions that peers were asking of them, that they grappled with themselves, with their faith. And I just think that is wonderful. As a parent, I think that has been wonderful. There was a question about, can I ask for a Catholic roommate? You can, and I'll tell you how you should go about that. When you fill out your form for housing, there's a little place at the bottom that says any other information you want to provide. You can write it out there, but please let your admissions rep know that this is what you desire, because we try really hard to get to know all of our students. And one rep might say, hey, so-and-so really wants a Catholic student as a roommate. And I could say, oh my gosh, I think, so I have a student from Indiana that would love to room with a Catholic student. So sometimes it can happen that way. So form and admissions rep are the two things. Dr. Ortiz, there's a question about Latin Mass nearby. Isn't there one in Grand Rapids?
Yes, there is one in Grand Rapids at Sacred Heart. And we've taken pilgrimages, field trips up there for the Latin Mass in the past. Actually, Father Nick just learned how to say the Latin Mass. So he's been holding out on us though recently. Last year, last year pre-COVID, actually, we hosted traditional Tridentine Latin Mass on campus in Winans, which is beautiful, actually, the original chapel on Hope's campus. And actually our local priest came and celebrated that, and we had a professional schola come, and they sung the whole mass, and it was packed. It was standing room only. So really, really, really beautiful. So again, that's not our normal, it's not our normal mass. You know, we have a very reverent and beautiful liturgy, but it is the English Novus Ordo mass. But again, we try to do, we try to introduce as much of the tradition as possible. You know, this goes to the other question too, which is again, authentically Catholic. But we, you know, we try to meet people where we're at. And often when people say that, they meet them where they're at, and then they leave them there. And that's not for us. We meet them where they're at, and then we try to bring them deeper into the truth and deeper into the tradition. But yeah, the English, a very reverent English Novus Ordo is what we celebrate here.
And there's another question about weekly mass. So there's daily mass on campus. It's twice a day on Wednesdays. We did have Sunday mass on campus pre-COVID, and because of blah, 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 we now have Sunday mass at the parish, which is literally 3 blocks away. So I think plans for the future to be determined, but that's the setup for this year. But we have mass every day on campus.
And for you students out there that are listening, and if there's specific questions that you want to ask the students or Father Nick or Professor Ortiz, get in touch with your admissions rep, because we can set up Zoom calls, we can introduce you over email. They're more than willing to have those kind of conversations with you. So I have another question that came in. Is there anything specific opportunities to help students to get past homesickness? Typical when they move away from their home for the first time. Oh my goodness, that happens to every student. So yes, even the ones that live close by. So here you go, Jacob and Corinne, homesickness, words of wisdom.
Yeah, I definitely have dealt with this quite a bit. I'm a resident assistant on campus. So I work with a lot of freshmen and help them through this. So first I told my freshmen just like, I'd love to talk with them and connect with them and help them through the homesickness, but also look at opportunities to plug in on campus of what they did in high school and to continue that, to keep their mind busy and find things that they love. So if they are really passionate about their faith, definitely encourage them to like come to mass or connect with Father Nick and Carly on campus, as well as they're great resources. Jacob, I don't know if you have anything else to add with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a lot of the same. First semester for me was rough, as a Father Nick can attest to. But yeah, I mean, just, you know, those kind of relationships, you know, like Corinne said, plug in on campus, find communities, find, you know, groups of friends and stuff. I mean, it's only natural, you know, you're gonna feel homesick, you're gonna feel sad, you know, lonely for a little bit, you know, when especially if you're in a totally new group of people. But it's a temporary thing, you know, just know that it's not going to last forever. And it probably won't last long. So
I think Hope does a really good job during the orientation process of trying to connect the students from when they arrive on campus on Friday all the way to Monday before classes even start, of connecting you with other students through your orientation group. And then, as we talked about, showing you all the different clubs and organizations that are available. And those really start right away on Tuesday. So it helps if you stay busy, if you find your people, that can really help with the whole thing. So there's another question, Father Nick, this might be good, or this Corinne or Jacob, about students, do they ever go to a Sunday mass together? And I'm assuming the question is maybe because we're in COVID and they're going to St. Francis 3 blocks away. So
Yes,
students do walk together to mass. So as the president of the Hope Catholics Club this year, I created a big group chat, like a group messaging chat for students on campus to connect. We have a carpool system we do every Sunday to mass, or there's a lot of students who enjoy walking, especially as it's getting warmer outside. We've had a group of students walk to mass together. And usually students go to the 4 p.m. mass, but we also have students that get together for the 8:30 and 10:30 masses in the morning. So you never have to go alone.
For you, right? Didn't St. Francis added a mass for Hope students?
yeah. Yes, they did. Yeah. So yeah, 4 p.m. is open to all their parishioners, but it's kind of the unofficial student mass. So
yeah, that's the one I like to go to. So yeah.
Can't be because of the preaching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, Father Nick.
And also just to echo what Father Nick said before is in previous years we had on-campus mass at 5 o'clock in a beautiful, beautiful chapel, the old chapel at Hope. And so 5 o'clock mass there. So very, very convenient for students. Again, we're off campus now because you can't gather that many people for non-academic events. But if we are back to normal, and Hope says is aspiring to be no mass, back to normal next year, then I'm imagining we'll be back on campus with a 5 o'clock on-campus mass, which, yeah, that's where most of the students go. Some students prefer the parish. It's a wonderful parish, and they prefer the community and the diversity of people there. And some people love to sleep in on Sundays and then, hang out with their friends. And then often after mass, we have, fellowship, and then sometimes informal fellowship, but also Father Nick does a Sunday School 2.0. The CCD you wish you had, and so that's usually after mass with we order in pizza or some other food, and then Father Nick gives some catechesis after mass. So that's also been very popular with students. So again, once we get back to normal, we imagine we'll be resuming all of those good activities.
Well, we are just about out of time. I'd like to add just one thing at the end that I read on the St. Benedict Institute website, and it really kind of struck me. Schoon Chapel, which they have all mentioned, is a small chapel in the bottom of Graves, the building that used to house the old chapel, and it's the one that we use for daily mass, and it is going to be renovated this summer, we think. Yeah. So if you go on the St. Benedict's website, you'll kind of see some of that. But when you go on the website, there is just a really quick paragraph written by a student of what the Schoon Chapel meant to her. And I read it today, and boy, did it touch me. And it was her quiet place to go. And in the busyness of school with activities and tests and papers and everything, that she loved that place where she could just go and be with the Lord. So you've heard about a lot of activities tonight of bringing students together, opportunities to grow in your faith, but we also have the quiet, reverent places at Hope. I want to thank you tonight, all of you, for joining us. Our guests tonight, it gets me more excited to talk to students about the Catholic Connection at Hope College. Again, if you have other questions and you want to speak to anybody that was on this presentation, just get a hold of your admissions rep and we can do that. We've taped this, so we will be sending it out to just about everybody. Thank you and have a great evening. Bye-bye.